Hey Bayek, it's me Ian, and in today's video I'm looking at this. This is Metropolis from 1927. And just before I go on, I'd just like to thank Sean again for sending me this film. It's fantastic, it's amazing, and thank you so much for the kindness of sending this. I really appreciate it. So, this film is without doubt the first full-length sci-fi film ever made. I think that's an important statement. And it's so influential. And this comes from the silent era. And it's an amazing film. Originally, it was 153 minutes long. It was considered too long and suffered a lot of cuts. And that meant that we believed that certain elements of this film were lost. And that over the years, people have been trying to look for and find those that were cut and missing. And over the years, they have built up what the original intent of the director was, the original cut. And the best we've got is 148 minutes worth now, from 2010, which is the one that I've been watching, the restored version, or the best restoration they can do, because there are certain problems in restoring these films. But yeah, in fact, it's quite complicated. But to simplify it, I've got this version, which is the best you're going to see this film in, of the original intent of the director. I know it's on Rotten Tomatoes, even they're stuck into this. They give it 97%. Crikey, what's happened? Right, so the screenplay is by Thea von Harum. She was a sci-fi writer whose novel, 1925 novel, was called Metropolis, and she became married to the director Fritz Lang, and she was very much involved in this film and influence with the screenplay, and it was produced by Eric Pommer. That sounded more French than German. You must forgive my I'm not very good with German accent. Anyhow, he was a very important producer, particularly in the Weimar Republic period, where in Germany, the freedom of expression in terms of the arts, the whole movement was all going on in the turmoil that was to lead to the Nazis, but a very creative period. And he's seen as an important part of German expressionism. And this is part of the guiding light of that, because this film has a lot to say as well, in a simplistic form, about political, social issues, as well as in terms of fantasy and utopia, all that kind of, normal everyday things. So we'll get into the fact he's directed by Fritz Lang. Fritz Lang is now considered one of the all-time influential film directors. He was an Austrian born film director, screenwriter, and producer as well. And the amount of work he did over his career is absolutely amazing. He was somebody as well who left Germany with the rise of the Nazis. So this is considered one of his important works, but so is the 1931 talkie film, yes. M, starring Peter Lorre. Yes, Peter Lorre. He plays a serial killer who's targeting children, which again is a very dark, film noir, controversial area. And this is often been voted one of the best German films. This was in 1931. Amazing, absolutely amazing performance. Then, as he got into America, he involved in a lot of film noir. The Big Heat, for instance, 1953, film noir with Glenn Ford. And then there's another important film he was involved in, which is While the City Sleeps, which is a film noir. Look at a serial killer. He was excellent at this. Is so influential. All great directors will often mention Fritz Lang because he was the one to look at. He was, particularly with Metropolis, way ahead of his time. There was no like it. Absolutely no like it. That is the truth. I'll just go through the cast, but really the cast are all sort of German based, who started their careers in silent films and carried on, some of them in German cinema, even through the Nazi period. We've got Alfred Abel, he plays the master of Metropolis. He worked and survived through the Nazi period. He he didn't survive. Sorry, I've got that wrong. He survived their influence, but he died in 1937. That was the problem in terms of art. The Nazi propaganda that was getting involved in films. He managed to survive that, but he did die in 1937. And then we have Gustav Frolik, who plays the master's son, Frida. He's very important, Frida. Very important in the film. And he worked through all this period, right in the Nazi period as well. And he kept a following in German cinema, but he did not get involved in Nazi propaganda films. I know we always have to look carefully in this period. It is a controversial period, but he survived and carried on in German cinema afterwards. Then we've got Brigitte Helm. She's very important in this film. She plays Maria, and also is transformed into the other character. The robot absorbs the shape. It's original concepts here. The robot transforms into a human, and this is her, which is part of the plot as well. Then we've got Rudolf Klein-Roger playing Rot Wang, the inventor. Another one who's the same. All these were silent film era actors who some of them transformed into the talking film era. Now, the film is, it took over 17 months to film, and there were absolutely thousands and thousands of extras involved in this. The whole budget of the film is there, and the designs of the sets. Massive amount of money was spent on this. But yeah, a lot of it was model work, all done the special effects, very clever special effects, all been developed on the direction of Fritz Lang and the people around him. He trusted to be able to deliver what he wanted, his vision of this film. Another important aspect of this is that the music score was by Gottfried Upperts. Not very good, am I? But the film score has a beautiful classical feel. perhaps some modernism in it, but it works perfect. And of course, can you imagine this being screened on big screen and a full symphony orchestra playing the score? Wow, that is the magic of the movies. You've got no sound dialogue apart from uh, the subtitles. Then the music is very, very important to the atmosphere of the film, and it's great. The score works so well. They have, as I say, I've talked about the cuts of this film. They perhaps one of the most famous ones in 1984 was Giorgio Moroder created a very cut down version in which he used rock and pop artists in the soundtrack, which I know including Freddie Mercury was one of the songs in that. It's not considered. It was an interesting look at it, and I suppose they were hoping to popularise and add their own modern take to it. But I say, over the years, it's been restored and restored, and now we've got the best version that is possible. So what is the story about? Now, it's a futuristic city, there is, and it's cultured, a kind of utopian kind of place. But beneath that, there is a different, bleak underworld populated by lots of workers who keep the city above going. We've got the relationship between, so already you're seeing capital and labour relationships. And this society, of course, is very big brother. It's authoritarian, and robots control it, and it's it's run at fear and antagonism. This is part of what we see. We get all sorts of scenes, some quite frightening one, visions of how the workers are treated. It's really frightening. But the basis of the story is that the controller's master's son, he is called Frida. He discovers what is going on, and he also develops a relationship, or as he sees it, a crush, and like a love story develops with the teacher who is from underground, who is involved with the workers, children. We see her in a very poignant scene come up with all the children from the underground, and then they go back, and he decides that he wants to help the workers, and that's the story, and those two are very much involved in that. And then it all just develops further and further as we get into the story. Now, I think modern eyes are going to find some of this very difficult to appreciate and enjoy because, well, the way the acting is that we see, because it's a silent film, there's a certain expression way that they act, but it's easy to get by. You understand why it is that, and I say there is subtitles there of what that's how it was with silent films. A lot of it is over almost exaggerated expressions, use of the body rather than the actual words, and also I think the sets, everything. I know some people again who say it's slow paced. You can hear them, can't you? People who have got that, but it's beautiful. It's the way they designed it, the way it's filmed. It's absolute wonderful. And of course, the robot is so iconic that we see that figure, that picture, towering robot. it's amazing, absolutely, and it's been used so many times and talked about. This film is just something that you can't help but, once you've really experienced it, it's on your mind all the time. But I suspect, again, it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But I love history, and I love the fact that this is really the first full science fiction film. Yes, that's it. If you love science fiction, you can see where so much. I think of Blade Runner. Blade Runner, one of my all-time favorite films, and he's one of the great films. And Ridley Scott, in his, the opening scenes, particularly in Blade Runner, you can see where the inspiration could have come from this film. Yes, the Metropolis, when we see the Metropolis building and all these skyscrapers and all the cars and everything running, I think, well, yeah, amazing. Because Blade Runner I could talk about for hours as well. I know there are people who think it's boring and what have you, but I love Blade Runner. It's one of the great films of all time. It really is. And so is this as an influence, definitely. And it's wonderful to see. And I can't help but love this because it's history. I love history. And seeing this, it's real proper film history, as they say. But you can't help but marvel at the visions, designs, the ideas as well that are being put forward in this film. Ahead of its time, I say all the great filmmakers have mentioned Fritz Lang, and you can see why with this kind of film. He's just way ahead. Amazing, visionary, wonderful film. But I suspect not everybody will see it like that. There will be those who just will not see it, but hey, that's how life and opinion is. It's what you expect, really. But I'm really so thankful I've got this in my collection, because it reminds me so much about why I love films and these pioneers in German cinema. Yes, German cinema was producing this way ahead of Hollywood. I mean, Hollywood was influenced by this. It's a shame that Paramount, when they got hold of the print, butchered it as well. So much for a release. But you could see censorship problems as well, because people would see this as overtly political, particularly in that era. And that's quite an important part, I would say, very important. But yes, I could go on, but I don't want to go on too long, because I'll just again show you the wonderful Masters of Cinema series that this has come in. Beautiful slipcover, look at that. And we've got all this, and we got this wonderful booklet here. This booklet, look at this booklet. And just hit a discount. Then we've got more of the on Metropolis, the buildings, the skyscrapers. Yeah. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Just put that back in there. Yep, there it is. Absolutely brilliant. And that's it. Yes, I've got to end it now, because I'll go on and on. Right. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, because then we'll let you know when I produce these videos. And hopefully then you might have a look at some of the other things I've done. Or perhaps you won't. I don't know. But I do films, TVs. There's a lot of nostalgia, but there's also more up-to-date films, but there's a lot of nostalgia and older films as well, covering all sorts of genres as well. And if you like this video, please give it a like. It all helps with algorithms, and then hopefully more people might see these films. they might think, hey, back, I'll look and watch that. Or then perhaps they won't think, oh, God. But if you like it, please give it a like as well. And also, if you've got any comments, please put your comments down. I'd love to hear what you think about it all. Or perhaps you don't. Perhaps you're not bothered. I don't know. But anyhow, that's me done, I think. So all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.